We are Tracker Radio, your number one online talk radio station.
I'm sitting wondering if you're here with me.
We educate, entertain, inform, and inspire you. Follow us everywhere on social media at the Tracker Radio. Tracker Radio, keeping you on track with talk that matters.
It's a beautiful breezy evening here in the city that never goes to sleep, and the center of excellence, Lagos. The city where dreams becomes reality, and this is your number one radio station that keeps you on track with talks that matters. You can follow us on our social media handles at The Tracker Radio on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok. My name is Praise Obariberin, and this is welcoming you to the very first edition of the program, Flipping Chapters. Flipping Chapters is an all-African storytelling show that keeps our African history and heritage fresh in our hearts through stories. Today, we will be flipping through the pages of Tobi Lobi's short story titled When a Man Wants, Episode 1. The lightning split the sky, followed by the rumbling of a distant thunder. For a second, the shudder ran through his spine and he held his artwork even tighter. He looked at the empty bottle of whiskey in front of him. He had almost drained the bottle in how many minutes? Hours. He sighed and stood up. He had wasted so much time here. Perhaps Mr. Leon wasn't coming again. He had been sitting down for more than 5 hours. It would be best if he just tells the secretary or the butler of this creepy place that he wanted to leave. It was getting dark fast. He could tell by his watch. Who even does business in a building located in the middle of nowhere? Anyway, taking his artwork with him, he carried his suitcase and went to the telephone. He was about to ring the telephone when it rang. The shrill sound first of all came to him by surprise, and he hesitated. But then he summoned courage and picked it. "Hello, Mr. Fred." It was the voice of the secretary. "Yes, I am here. I was just about..." "Please do not attempt to leave the premises. Mr. Leon is already here." Then the line went dead. He looked at the machine again and then put back the telephone. This was just insane. She had spoken to him just like as if she was recorded, like an automated machine. When he had come into the building, he had thought he made a mistake. The building was all white and whitely furnished. There were beautiful works of art everywhere, but no soul in sight. There was no receptionist. Even the gate had opened by itself. His brain had sent him a red flag, but he was just about to make the biggest deal of his life. Not only for him, but for Anika, his beautiful fiancée, who was just about to put to bed. The deal would help a lot in making their dreams come true. Get married and get a house by the lake and raise their family. Just as he was thinking about that, the door he had opened slammed by itself, and the telephone he had even spotted earlier began to ring. The lady had spoken to him warmly at first, told him to kindly take the elevator to the 3rd floor, go to the right room by the left, and then wait for Mr. Leon. Then he had done so and met the bottle of whiskey and a cup. He was getting so bored of sitting down alone for a long time, so he just opened the bottle and began to watch the display of CNN on the big screen. Hours had gone and he was still here, but thankfully the creepy female voice he heard said Leon was around, so he just needed to wait a little more. Gingerly, he put down the artwork and sat down again. "Oh, my dear Freddy, I am so sorry I kept you waiting." He heaved a great sigh of relief as he heard the voice and stood up and turned to shake the hand of his benefactor. "I was just about losing hope, thought you wouldn't come around anymore." The man chuckled and shook his hands warmly. "I apologize for the delay. I had so many things to run at the same time. If only there were many of me." He joked and they both laughed. "I can see you have made yourself comfortable while I was away," he said, gesturing to the bottle on the table. "Oh, I assumed it was for me," Freddy stammered. He was a stammerer. "Oh, but of course, who else?" the man said with a short laughter. "So now to business." They discussed for a while. Freddy stood up. He seemed completely disappointed. This was the man that had promised to showcase his work for him at the biggest art gallery event of the year to boost his career, and now he was asking him to sell it to him? This was a man that had made a name for himself in the industry, and he just wanted to use his fortune, his dream, for his own selfishness. Human beings could be so cruel to have waited for him all this while. Freddy stood up. He was too angry and too disappointed. He could not say anything. If he tries to, he knew he would just stammer more. So he took his artwork. He was not going to sell his life work to someone he wanted. He would not be like Esau. "Think very well before you leave this place, Freddy. Whatever happens to you afterwards is definitely your own doing." Freddy glanced back at him. Did he just threaten him? He wanted to reply, but he couldn't. His tongue was still tied, and stammering in front of this evil man was a waste of time. He would go home to Anika and pour out his mind to her. Which men are just cruel. The door slammed by itself as he abandoned the room, startling him, but he could care less as he headed towards the elevator. Just as he got inside, the phone rang. It was his mother. "My son, where are you?" "Mother, I am coming home. These people are so wicked. Tell Anika that I'm coming." The mother could sense the panic in his voice. "My son, what happened?" He was close to tears now. That usually happens when he feels frustrated. "Come home soon, dear. Your wife just gave birth to a baby." His eyes lit up immediately, but the call ended just like that. "Hello, Mama?" He stared at the phone, but was surprised how network just disappeared all of a sudden. This is so strange, he thought to himself, but he was excited deep down. He had to get home fast. The elevator bell dinged and he stepped out. As he headed for the staircase that led to the entrance, he realized it was on a second floor instead. He paused. Had he pressed the wrong button? He shrugged. He headed back for the elevator, and the light suddenly went out, startling him into a sudden darkness that he dropped the phone in his hand. The phone landed on the floor, making a clattering noise. He took a deep breath and slowly wiped the hot moisture on his forehead away with his backhand. A fuse must have blown. He wouldn't wait till they fix it. He had a feeling he needed to get out of this place as fast as he could. Then he bent down and groped for his Android phone in the darkness. His hand finally touched a solid substance, which he recognized as a battery. He held firmly to it and stretched his hands, groping for more, and he finally got the phone and the back cover. Thank God. He had attached the beads together and put on the phone, which gave a faint glow. Thus, he began to find his way towards the staircase. He found the staircase and was beginning to climb down slowly when he heard the noise of a door slightly opened somewhere close to him. He stopped and listened. Creepy chills crawled down the backs of his legs as he kept on walking and finally got to the landing. The entrance was just a few feet away. He doubled his step and turned the doorknob. It was locked. Just as he had thought, while he pulled the door, he heard movements behind him. He flashed the light from his phone, but he could see nothing. This was becoming a nightmare. He had held his artwork closer to his chest. Just then, the phone in his hand gave a warning of low battery. He spotted a sharp movement in the darkness, and the hair at the back of his neck stood up. He strained his ears, flashing his phone light and peering into the darkness. "Mr. Freddy, is that you?" The silence that greeted him sent a cold chill down his spine, and he swallowed. He could sense danger, and he knew he had just made the greatest mistake of his life by coming here. Anika had warned him. People. "Please, I needed help with the door and the light," he managed to say. Nothing. Everywhere was dead silent. The next thing he heard was a car being driven away outside, followed by a loud gunshot. He groaned as something sharp and hot peered through him, and he staggered, dropping his phone and his artwork. Slowly, he slumped to the ground. That was when he noticed that his clothes was getting soaked. He touched his chest. It was wet. He licked the moisture. He tasted blood, his very own blood. His phone started ringing again. It was a pop-up WhatsApp message. He could see it from where it lay sideways. Few feet away from him, an image popped up on the screen. Anika was holding layers of wrapped clothes in between the clothes. He could see tiny eyes and tiny nose of a tiny white baby. So beautiful and so tiny was the baby. He felt tears gathering in the corners of his eyes as he lay unable to move on the ground. The image came with the caption, "Nice to meet you, Daddy." He smiled painfully as he stared at his wife and son while his life drifted slowly away from him. What do you think would happen to Freddy, his wife, and the new baby? Share your opinions by commenting from the app or visit our social media handles at The Tracker Radio on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. My name is Praise or Barry Berry. Till we meet for another interesting episode of Flipping Chapters next week. Keep listening to Tracker Radio, the radio that keeps you on track with talks that matters.
Tracker Radio, keeping you on track with talk that matters.